It's an honor to have our friend Danny Danon, the ambassador to the United Nations from Israel, on the program. How are you, Mr. Ambassador?
Thank you for having me tonight, Mark.
It's a great pleasure. We really appreciate you. All right, so I don't even like calling this a deal. We have this situation now where these monsters kidnapped all these innocent, beautiful civilians, some of whom have been murdered and tortured and raped. Your administration is trying to get as many back as possible. You're coming under enormous pressure from 50 different people, 50 different governments, 50 different sides, even within your own government, because the people who listen to this program understand that the way your government works or doesn't work is you have all these parties, minority parties, so you got to deal with all that as well as everything else. But in the end, isn't it true, Mr. Ambassador, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase whatever, that Israel keeps the right, keeps the authority to go into Gaza, to finish off Hamas, if necessary, and it is necessary, that this is a so-called ceasefire. It's not a peace deal, quote-unquote, correct?
Absolutely. It's not a peace agreement. It's a ceasefire. You know, we are committed to bring back the hostages. 15 months, we know about babies, women who are being tortured, raped, starved in the tunnels of Hamas. So, you know, it's part of our Jewish tradition to fight for each one. And that's what we are doing. But we will not allow Hamas to stay in power in Gaza. We know that if they will stay there, there will be no future for Gaza, for the Palestinians there, but also for us, because they will regroup. It's only a matter of time before they will initiate another attack against Israel. So we are determined to finish the job. But at the same time, if we have to delay it and bring back hostages alive back to their families, we are doing it. And it's not a happy moment. It's mixed feelings today, because we would see the visuals of terrorists who murdered innocent Israelis going to become heroes all over again in Gaza. So, you know, to release those murderers, it's very hard for us. But unfortunately, that's the decision that the government will have to take.
Was there a lot of pressure from the United States?
Well, I would say that both President Trump and President Biden wanted to see something happening before Monday. So, yes, there was pressure, and I think it's supported because, you know, the same agreement was offered to us back in May, more or less, not exactly. And we said
right.
Yes, and Hamas said no. And the pressure we put on them with our military in Gaza, and the pressure that President Trump and his special envoy put on them during the last few days, I think it supported the process, and it allows us to bring some of the hostages back home.
And the Netanyahu government has held. You know, you had a few people who decided to pull out, but all in all, you still have a majority in the Knesset, correct?
Yes, we still have a majority. We have a broad coalition. Even one of the parties decided not to stay because of the deal. There is a majority for the government. But, you know, it's not easy. It's not easy. But I think majority of Israelis will support the decision of the government because, you know, we send our kids to the military. I send my son, my daughters to the military. We expect the government to make sure that they come back, if God forbid they are in captivity. So in Israel, not like in the U.S., everybody is in the military. So it's part of our society, part of the culture, and that's our commitment to bring them back home.
There's been a lot of progress made in fighting Hamas, a lot of progress made in Gaza, despite what the world media have to say and so forth. And so what you're indicating here is, look, we want to get as many hostages back as we can, but we're not going to let that situation tolerate. We're not going to tolerate that situation. We're not going to tolerate Hamas running that part of the world. We're not going to tolerate them on our border. So we will re-engage, but right now we want to get our hostages back. And it's my understanding that the United States, the incoming administration, supports that view, correct?
Indeed. And when I speak at the UN, you know, many of those countries support only the Palestinians. And I tell them, if you really care about the Palestinians, you should join our efforts against Hamas, because they will have no future with Hamas in Gaza. But some, you know, choose to close their eyes and to blame Israel for everything. But the truth of the matter, when you look at the situation of the Palestinians today, for the sake of the future of the Palestinians, the international community should support Israel in our fight against Hamas.
In today's digital age, where cyber threats loom larger than ever, safeguarding your personal information is paramount. So why is Congress considering a law that could put your credit card data at greater risk of being hacked and exposed to foreign networks? This Durbin-Marshall credit card bill could jeopardize your financial data, make it more susceptible to cyber intrusions. It's a controversial bill that proposes a shift in billions of dollars worth of consumer transactions to payment networks that lack the robust security measures consumers rely on. Who could possibly want that? Well, the answer? Woke corporate megastores seeking to inflate their multi-billion-dollar profit margins. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill will undermine our safe and convenient payment systems and endanger your data security. It's time to take a stand. Visit electronicpaymentscoalition.org. Make your voice heard. Tell your senators to oppose the radical Durbin-Marshall credit card bill, paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition. Is your government being pressured at all by the outgoing government or the incoming government to create a Palestinian state out of Israeli territory right now?
I don't think it's being discussed. Mark, after October 7th, when we saw what happened, and unfortunately we saw that the Palestinian Authority, they supposed to be the moderate part of the Palestinian society. They supported the atrocities. Mm-hmm. So, Israelis are not stupid. We ask ourselves, with whom you want us to sign a peace treaty? With those who actually glorify the terrorists who invaded our communities, killed our citizens. So I think we will demand a major change among the Palestinian culture and leadership before we can talk about a peace deal with the Palestinians.
And it's not going to happen, because I'm watching these children who were celebrating Hamas 24 hours ago. In Gaza. I'm watching that. I'm watching Hamas is becoming more popular in the areas of the Palestinian Authority than Fatah. And so they have certain pockets like Ramallah and other places where Hamas has a growing popularity. So this idea of another state, that is fanciful, that is ridiculous. And the problem is, you and your country would be left dealing with. And what's this state going to look like? They're going to have an air force, they're going to have missiles, they're going to have nuclear weapons. The whole idea is preposterous.
No, I hope that the new administration, and I believe they will have a very clear approach against terrorists, against those who support terrorists. It's not only those who commit the crimes, it's those who indoctrinate, who teach the children in schools to hate Jews. That's unacceptable. When you look at the textbooks of UNRWA, which is being funded by the UN, they teach their children to hate us. They don't teach them mathematics or English. They don't care about that. So I think, and I believe we will see a different approach coming from the new administration and more accountability. We have to demand more accountability from the UN and from other countries.
To the extent this show and my voice matter, I will fight this with every fiber of my being. I can tell you that right now. I do have an idea for a Palestinian homeland. I think it should be in Saudi Arabia. They got a lot of land over there. The prince seems to be very interested in something like that. You don't need to comment, Mr. Ambassador. They've got plenty of land over there, and so if that's what they want to do, that's up to them. Let me ask you this. Going forward, there's still Iran. Iran's hurting very badly. Turns out we've learned more about what the Israeli military did under Benjamin Netanyahu and the government that you serve when it came to the attack on Iran, knocking out pretty much all of their ground-to-air capabilities and knocking out some of their main energy sites. So seems to me that's a country teetering, no?
Well, it was a strategic attack against Israel. It came from Gaza, from Iran, Yemen, Lebanon. But look where we are today. Hezbollah, we dismantled their capabilities. Nasrallah is dead. Hamas, we almost eliminated them, not yet completely. Iran, we proved our capabilities. And I think now the challenge is to make sure that Iran will not run for the nuclear bomb. They want to get to their ASAP. And I'm afraid because they are weak now, they will try to do something fast. So we have to watch very carefully what's happening there. And I think for the new administration, that should be the first priority, to ensure that Iran is not obtaining the nuclear capabilities. They are lying, they are cheating, they are deceiving the international community, and I think it shouldn't be only Israel facing them. We need the support of the U.S. and other democracies.
That's my hearing went bad. You know, President Trump has said several times that Iran will not get nuclear weapons, and even encouraged Israel, where Biden was pulling Israel back when Israel responded to the hypersonic missiles that Iran fired, to go ahead and hit those nuclear sites. So I can't imagine anything that has happened to change their mind. Have you heard anything that you're able to speak about?
Well, you know, we start our discussions with our colleagues. I think we understand that, you know, the idea is to lead from strength. And I think Iran will be the first test for the administration, because they are moving fast. They are moving fast, and they are aligned, you know, with the evil forces. When you look what's happening today in Lebanon, in Yemen, in Syria, in Gaza, you know, it's all coming from Iran. So I hope and I believe we will be able to work very closely with our colleagues in order to block the axis of evil starting in Tehran.
Well, Danny Danon, you know, it's a pleasure to know you. It's been a pleasure to know you. You're actually, you know, just a fantastic ambassador and spokesman for the country of Israel, and we want to thank you very much for coming on the program, sir.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you.
God bless you. You take care of yourself. Shabbat shalom, my friend.
Shabbat shalom.